Here's Nick in Richmond to kick us off. Nick.
Yes, hi, how are you doing?
I'm very well.
My opinion is that people have died for freedom of speech in this country and many countries, and it's something we should enforce, freedom of speech, a bit like the Americans do with the First Amendment. Now we have a cancel culture. People are afraid to talk about all kinds of things. People are afraid that they'll get ostracized. They're afraid that they'll get fired. It's often adherence to left-wing ideas. People will adhere to them even if they don't. And recent examples are a guy on Manx radio questioned Black Lives Matter in some form, and he was suspended. Some lady in Alberta University, she said he was
I think pregnant. He was, from memory, Nick, that particular radio presenter was, he'd done nothing wrong. They concluded, they looked into it and they found that he'd done nothing wrong.
Okay, well, why would they have to look into it? He's just raised a legitimate, why people should be able to debate things without somebody raising a suspension or something like that. I think companies are wimps when it comes to it. They sometimes cancel people because a random stranger from the internet rings up and says, oh, they tweeted something. They're wimps. They don't stand up to freedom of speech. I think a lot of these people trying to cancel people are playing this postmodern oppression narrative, and they are trying to stand up against oppression, but they are causing more oppression than ever before by stopping people from saying what they need to say.
And I guess a lot of people, so the question back is, well, what is it that you need to say that you don't think you can say? I'll give you lots of examples. For example, the assumption that if there's differences in outcomes of groups, it must be discrimination. And of course, Jordan Peterson has made this argument many times. For some reason, it goes prominent on Channel 4, but then people seem to completely forget it. It goes in one ear and out the other next day. They start talking about, there's gender imbalances. Just because there is an imbalance of something doesn't mean it's discrimination. It could be personal choice, for example. It's like a kind of dumb and blind thing that people are like, the difference in outcome, it must be discrimination. Okay, if you say that, I've tried posting this on corporate internets, and I eventually had diversity officers confronting me. You better keep your opinions outside. And I tried an experiment, basically telling them to sod off. And then I realised, actually... But do you think, Nick, are you not in danger of becoming the thing that you're bemoaning, which is the lack of appreciation for the other side of the argument? So if a diversity officer who, let's be honest, you don't think needs to exist in the first place, if a diversity officer says to you, Nick, listen, I've seen your view, I think it would, wouldn't it be interesting if you were able to do this course to see how your view might change? If you say, under no circumstances am I doing that, you're cancelling them, aren't you?
Not really, because I would be willing to have a debate with anybody about false assumptions like differences in outcomes must be discrimination or gender is a social construct. No, it's not. XX and XY chromosomes.
Well, that's different. You're talking about sex. You mentioned gender and sex are two different things.
Okay, but I think the overarching narrative here is to try to deconstruct natural phenomenon, let's say, like gender. I think the reason why somebody decided to split it into sex and gender is to kind of deconstruct. I
don't think. I mean, they're two separate words for a reason. They mean different things.
Okay, but at the end of the day, there are only two biological genders.
There are two biological sexes. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay, so or if you question the police violence narrative that police are targeting ethnic minorities with violence, statistics don't confirm that. Statistics deny that.
Well, it depends what statistics you're using, and statistics, as we know, can be used to say all kinds of things. I guess that isn't the issue here not what it is you can't say, because of course you can say it. You're free to say whatever you like, but the consequences of saying some things. And there are certain areas that are real landmines here at the moment. The consequences of saying it are enormous for individuals. And I guess the person that I'm after tonight, not to dismiss any of you who are waiting to come on, but the person who I'm after tonight is the person that said the thing that they thought was fine or tested the waters by saying the thing they thought was fine and received just enormous opprobrium to the point where you've lost your job, you've lost your reputation, it's all gone horribly wrong. 0345 6060 973. Ambrosine's in Hendon.
I guess it changes depending on what you do. But Julian, good words. Alex is in Leeds. Hi, Alex.
Good morning, Tom. I'm going to be very quick as ever. I'm going to make two very quick points. First of all, I'm going to use Nick from Richmond as an example, if I may. I'm turning out to be his nemesis because he was on your colleague Matt Stadler's show on Sunday morning. Yes, he was.
I can't believe this. People who call this programme also call other programmes.
I'm afraid they do. So he was on Matt Stadler's show, and he made some points, and I then came on to rebut them. Now, let's talk about freedom of speech, right? I absolutely respect Nick's from Richmond's right to free speech and to spout whatever you want to say about Jordan Peterson and all the rest of it. I think it's absolute nonsense, but he has the right to say it and come on, not national, but international global radio to say it. We do not have absolute free speech. I've said this many, many times before. You can say whatever you want, but if it transgresses the bounds of the law, then obviously there'll be consequences. Now, there's another thing, the whole thing about cancel culture, which I'm going to quote or reference Jonathan Freedland, Guardian journalist, and also presenter of The Long View on your rival Radio 4.
Oh, God, there are Alex, there are other radio stations.
Indeed there are as well, yes, surprise, surprise. Well, look, this whole thing about cancel culture, right, it's not new. We're talking about societal norms, aren't we? We're talking about what society finds acceptable. You might argue that, it's only a minority, a significant minority of people who get exercised and talk about no platforming and cancelling. But really, if you talk about the court of public opinion, well, that's been around since, I guess, people had opinions and people were ostracised and so on and so forth. So the only difference really is, and I'm not saying it's okay to no platform J.K. Rowling or to cancel Jodie Cromer. I'm just saying the phenomenon is not a new one. The only thing that's different is, as you've alluded to, and as your previous text messenger alluded to, we have social media, which makes it all the more...
Sped up, and it is
amplified. It's amplified. It's more out there, But tastes change. What's acceptable to, the average man or woman on the Hackney omnibus? It changes.
But I guess, Alex, what the part of the issue here is, yes, there are unacceptable views. Yes, there are people who pile on in those circumstances. What seems to be perhaps different is the certainty that people have, the moral certainty that people have.
Not really. No, people have always... Look, come on. People have always felt that they are... Well, it's from a religious point of view.
What about the moral certainty that people have about other people who have different views? In areas where... So we're not talking about, paedophilia. Nobody is going to say, oh, well, we'll give them a chance if they're a paedophile. No.
Well, you reckon?
Well, some people do. But let's say, for instance, Alex, the issue that has divided this nation for many, many years thus far, Brexit, you get people on both sides saying that because somebody else has a different view, they are therefore, because they feel they're wrong about that, they are therefore a worse person.
Yeah, because I'm not saying it's right, by the way. I'm just you've asked me to give you my view, I'll give you my view. It's the culture wars, mate. And I've been trying to get on this radio station for various different presenter shows. There are other presenters on LBC. It's the culture wars, and it's and given the context in which we're in and all the rest of it, views have become entrenched. People have got behind.
Why? I guess the point. The question to me, Alex, is how have those views become entrenched? How are those views so entrenched? Social media plays a part. That people aren't open or don't want to be challenged. Perhaps because, I'll tell you what it is. I think I know what it is. People don't want to be challenged in their views because their views are who they are. They feel that it is their identity that's bound up in these views. Therefore, a challenge to their views is a challenge to them personally and who they are. And nobody quite seeks that out, I don't think. Alex, you've opened my eyes. Other radio stations and presenters. Steve's in Hackney. Hi, Steve. Ambrosine's in Hendon. Hi, Ambrosine.
Hi. Hello, Tom.
Hi.
You know that I run
on anti-Semitism.
We're very vocal in what we do. But I just want a few things. Look, with freedom of speech comes responsibility. And I think a lot of people that have rang up today really need to realise that. But I've been involved in with people and cases where I have, over the past, through my organisation, have, should I say, got people's jobs informed that a person was posting, was extreme far right in many cases. And
what kind of thing? I mean, obviously aware that this is a family show, Ambrosine.
Yes,
what kind of thing are you looking at that you then report to the employer?
Well, there are two cases. The first one recently, or I'll give you a recent one, when people who call themselves the ethno-nationalists were promoting a charity, a very well-known charity, that helps girls who have been victims of grooming.
Yeah.
And that person, that charity, did not know that this particular extreme far-right person was promoting the charity on Twitter, on social media. Now, having that person doing that and seeing what that type of person believes in repatriation and all sorts of not very nice things that a lot of extreme far right believe in, there was a series of letters and emails that went through to this particular charity.
Why was this person promoting the charity?
I'm sorry?
Why was this person promoting the charity?
I think it's because they wanted to hijack. They want to hijack, particularly the extreme far right.
Was there evidence for that?
This particular subject.
Was there evidence for that you saw in what they were saying?
Yes.
Right.
And the charity put out a statement. We got a very good result. They put out a statement that they have absolutely nothing to do with that particular person and never have done. And luckily, we put another charity a link up, and that all went fine.
Yeah, I guess, Ambrosine, it's interesting work that you do on anti-Semitism. And I get clearly there are positions that people take which are deemed, well, they're not only deemed socially unacceptable, they're also, and morally unacceptable, they're also illegal. So those people we discount. And obviously that will shift, I think. What is deemed legal or not will shift depending on the time. But for arguments, let's keep them to one. They're a different category. We put them to one side. I'm interested in those areas where people have differing views, genuinely held difference of opinion on very emotive and complex subjects. And those on either side will shout at one another saying that they are trying to be cancelled. And I just want to check who it is who's doing the cancelling, how they're doing it, and whether you feel that you have been in any way, shape or form. 0345